major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Wednesday, June 17th. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. San Diego County is preparing to take another big step in reopening the economy, making face coverings more important than ever. Today, the county reported 4 more people have died from the virus and 120 new cases. While we've been flattening the curve, there is new and startling data showing a spike in coronavirus infections across the U.S. Here's Whitney Wild.
Looser restrictions around the nation may be giving Americans the sense coronavirus is disappearing. But data shows at least 21 states are seeing infections increase.
You're going to see a spike in the number of cases, and then a few days or a week later, you'll see a spike in the hospitalizations.
Data shows that may be true in Texas, where both the number of infections and hospitalizations has ticked up. This week, Texas, Florida, and Arizona set daily records for new cases.
We've participated on the Arizona Surge Line, which is a way the state is triaging patients. Last week, we were accepting patients, and this week we did hit our capacity in our COVID designated ICU unit.
In Florida, after a group of 16 friends hit the bar, they say they all contracted the virus.
I think that we were careless and we went out into a public place before we should have.
Health experts continue to stress states will likely record an uptick in cases as people relax their attitudes towards social distancing and masks. Now, the experts behind the leading model are increasing coronavirus death projections to more than 200,000 by October 1st.
All the statistical data says that COVID is like pneumonia, very seasonal, and that makes us pretty sure there's going to be a second wave.
In Washington, Whitney Wild, KPBS News.
San Diego County announced additional COVID-19 testing sites are opening in Mira Mesa and Spring Valley. Tests are free and you can make an appointment online. You can find out more at kpbs.org. Just click on the Tracking COVID link. County leaders are urging everyone to keep wearing face coverings, saying it's one of the best tools to prevent COVID-19 infections. And as KPBS reporter Eric Anderson tells us, the science backs them up.
Good afternoon and welcome.
County officials are being as direct as possible. Hand washing, social distancing, and face coverings are considered key strategies to control the spread of the coronavirus. Supervisor Greg Cox says people should still wear masks when they go out in public.
I know it's a pain. I've seen and heard comments from people who are tired of wearing facial coverings. But I want to remind everyone that there is still no cure for COVID-19. This is a contagious disease, and studies have shown that the use of facial coverings helps slow the spread of the virus.
New research due to be published next week in the journal Science finds the risk of infection from aerosols released by just talking is much greater than initially thought. Atmospheric chemist Kim Prather says that means masks are essential.
Number one reason to wear a mask is because you don't know who's sick. We can't identify people, and they estimate that as many as 40% of the people that are sick are walking around exposing people for days.
Prather says masks are one of the best tools to keep the airborne virus from spreading, but she worries infection rates will go up because people are not wearing masks when they go outside. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
The San Diego Unified School District is moving ahead with its plan to bring students back in the fall. The school board approved the proposal last night despite only having enough funding for half of the school year. It allows parents to decide if their students return to campus or continue distance learning at home. Returning students will attend a full day of class every day. They must wear a mask, keep 6 feet of social distancing, and wash their hands frequently. If the district doesn't get the federal funding it needs, all students would have to return to online learning for the second half of the year. A new report from the San Diego Association of Governments says compared to whites, blacks and Hispanics in our county are 4 times more likely to live in areas that have been impacted by COVID and unemployment. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman says local leaders are trying to address that inequity.
I feel like the government system in the last 200 years in America has not been working for communities of color. Like, that's why you have the problems that you have.
Supervisor Nathan Fletcher says issues of inequalities among people of color is nothing new.
What's changed is COVID and the accompanying social unrest surrounding not just the murder of Mr. Floyd, but the broader spotlight on that issue has shone a light on these issues that has engaged a lot of folks that haven't historically been engaged.
So Fletcher, other local politicians, and community leaders are creating a task force that will meet regularly, hoping to bridge that divide.
We use the word equity, meaning our reality is inequities, but the root cause of those inequities is what we call structural racism.
Dr. Rodney Hood says he's been a physician in South San Diego for 40 years and has seen firsthand how people of color are treated differently.
Underlying barriers in social determinants of health, food insecurity, job insecurity, economic insecurity.
He says the first step is acknowledging the problems and then taking action.
And it shouldn't be just a thing that's on the wall or in the filing cabinet. It really needs to have teeth.
In San Diego County, we have seen that systemic discrimination reflected in the numbers.
Data from county health officials shows Hispanics and Latinos make up 2/3 of positive cases, and they have the highest percentage of COVID-19 deaths.
While communities advocated for beach days and reopening of golf courses, Black and brown communities are advocating for housing, worker, and healthcare protections.
The COVID Recovery Task Force is planning to meet virtually for now. Their first meeting is next Wednesday, and they are inviting the public to bring their concerns.
It's hard to ask for help. And it's even more difficult if you don't know where to ask for help. And I look forward to this committee or this recovery task force being that space where if they have questions in whatever language or whatever community they are located in, they can tap into this resource.
The coalition is welcoming new members too. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
The fired Atlanta police officer who shot and killed Rayshard Brooks is now facing felony murder charges. Garrett Rolfe shot Brooks in the back in a Wendy's parking lot over the weekend. It happened when Rolfe tried to arrest Brooks for DUI and Brooks took his taser. But prosecutors say Brooks was running away and posed no deadly threat when Rolfe opened fire. A second officer was charged with aggravated assault but is cooperating and will testify. The charges came today as Senate Republicans debuted their own policing reform proposal.
Young person who's concerned when he's stopped by the law enforcement officers, we see you.
The legislation gives grants to police departments for body cameras, requires agencies to report officer-involved incidents that cause serious injury or death to the FBI, and makes lynching a federal hate crime. The legislation also discourages but doesn't ban no-knock warrants and chokeholds. Democrats say that's not good enough.
Addressing toothless bill, we need to take action that is real.
The proposal from House Democrats mandates body cameras, bans chokeholds and no-knock warrants, and makes it easier for people to sue the police. A National City police officer has been suspended for allegedly making racist comments in text messages. The private messages to a family member were shared on social media. The department isn't releasing the officer's name or details about what was said. National City's mayor thanked the police chief for his swift action, adding racial bias from officers, city staff, or elected officials will not be tolerated. The statue of Christopher Columbus and Queen Isabella in the California state capitol will be removed. Lawmakers are talking with art experts about how to remove it, but haven't set a date. Local Democratic Assembly member Lorena Gonzalez praised the decision on Twitter, saying it's important that children today learn the difference between real heroes and fake ones. Some Republicans have opposed removing statues, saying it erases history. Data from the state shows only 19% of California seniors are taking advantage of food assistance called CalFresh. KPBS reporter John Carroll shows us how a proposed law could change that.
We have 4.
It's the monthly food distribution day at the Mira Mesa Senior Center. Eligible seniors driving by to collect a 36-pound box of nutritious food. But today, the Senior Center is serving as the backdrop for a demand, a call to streamline the process of applying for CalFresh for seniors.
The process for those seniors to enroll to receive those benefits is very cumbersome. The application is 20 pages.
James Floros says there's a simpler application online, but that of course requires that seniors know how to use a computer. Even applying over the phone can be difficult. Take the case of Mira Mesa resident George Rionda and his wife. They tried applying over the phone.
And we really give up because we tried to call and call and call, and they send us so many that thick of paperwork.
Rionda says all that confusing paperwork led to questions, which meant calling CalFresh again.
So you have to call. And then when you call, the waiting is about that long. So my wife told me, what shall I do? We give up.
All the way up to the front.
Bay Area Democratic Senator Scott Wiener wants to make nightmare stories like that a thing of the past. He's put forward a bill, SB 882, which would streamline the process for seniors who need help getting food.
It's just streamlining the process and making it easier for seniors. You know, right now there's probably about 55,000 seniors in San Diego County that are now enrolled in CalFresh, but there's another 60 or 70,000 that are still eligible.
To George Rionda, a law like that sounds like just what the doctor ordered.
There's a lot of seniors like us, and much worse than us, that really in need of simple thing, just a simple call, and everything will be taken care of.
You're all set. Have a good day.
Senator Wiener's bill is scheduled for a committee hearing tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
John Carroll, KPBS News.
As restaurants, breweries, and other businesses reopen, the free pass on parking is about to end. The city of San Diego is resuming enforcement on July 1st. A 2-week grace period starts today, and on July 1st, drivers who violate parking rules will get a written warning. Citations and fines will be issued starting on July 15th. The city suspended citations in March due to the stay-at-home orders. It looks like cooler temperatures will stick around a few more days before things start to warm up again. Mark Mancuso has your forecast.
Low clouds will be extensive along the coast next couple of days, and we're still looking at some cool temperatures here in San Diego. They'll stay pretty much steady into tomorrow, but at the end of the week, a ridge of high pressure starts to build in, and over the weekend, temperatures will slowly rise. And that's some good news just in time for Father's Day. Now let's take a look at our weather for tonight. Well, we are looking at some clouds on the coast and into some of the valleys here. Oceanside's down to 60. San Diego's at 63. El Cajon at 61. And we'll see a low of 69 Borrego Springs. Mount Laguna at 51 degrees. Well, for Thursday and Friday, subtle change here. Our trough starts to slowly pull out. Ridge gradually builds in. Still have the light onshore flow, so we know what that means. It means some more coastal clouds and slightly cooler temperatures, but they'll become less extensive as this ridge starts to take over late in the week and over the weekend. So we'll wind up with clouds and sun for you in Oceanside and San Diego. Temperatures low 70s tomorrow. El Cajon's up to 80, Ramon 79, but Borrego Springs up in the triple digits, and Mount Laguna is up to 70. For the weekend, here's the ridge starts to build in, so that means we'll keep it dry and the temperatures will start to slowly rise. Here along the coast, clouds and sun next few days. And there you can see temperatures creeping up just a little bit over the weekend. Here in the inland sections, quite pleasant. Clouds and sunshine. Temperatures warm to the low 80s over the weekend. In the mountains, it looks nice. Temperatures rising here to the mid and upper 70s. And in the deserts, well, we'll have some triple-digit heat for you. A little hotter over the weekend. And for KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso.
The coronavirus pandemic is magnifying existing social issues. KPBS science and technology reporter Shalina Chatlani says controlling the pandemic in at-risk communities like the homeless presents a unique set of challenges.
So on a day-to-day, every day is different.
Jesse Angeles Jr. drives through San Diego's North Park neighborhood to drop off food on a late May afternoon. It's for his clients who live on the street.
Since COVID, as soon as it started, my workload has been almost doubled because of the need. Now clients, they're saying like, well, we don't have any places to eat. We don't have places to use the restroom.
Angeles worked with a homeless nonprofit group. He's been working with the homeless community for years, developing empathy, knowledge of mental health issues, and trust. But he still has to approach some clients with caution, like a homeless man he's building a new relationship with.
We're trying to build rapport with him, me and my partner. So I'm just gonna drop off a bag to him just to let him know that we're still here for him. Hey, it's Jesse. I would say that it is sensitive information for people, because if you don't have that trust with them, like if someone just asks them just like a blatant question like where you been and stuff like that, it has to develop through a relationship first.
San Diego County has distributed close to 8,000 hygiene kits to the homeless and offered testing and shelter at the convention center. Relatively few homeless people have tested positive. County Supervisor Nathan Fletcher says officials are doing as much as they can.
Our unsheltered community presents unique challenges, both in terms of engaging them and building that trust they'll share with you.
But while the county generally knows where positive cases are, there's currently no map of where all the unsheltered communities are located. That makes it difficult to create a regional approach for serving as well as testing and contact tracing.
Why would I feel like they will treat me and my community well in terms of contact tracing?
Rebecca Fielding Miller is an infectious disease professor at UC San Diego.
But just because there's an outbreak doesn't mean the pre-existing social issues go away. They actually come to the fore even more.
The county has already hired just over 400 diverse contact tracers who plan to call or text people, but many homeless people don't have phones. And Fielding Miller says they may not trust those calls and texts from everyone. She suggests hiring people, like Angeles, who have the expertise.
We know in any community there are people who are leaders, formally or informally, who are trusted by their community.
It's evident from watching the work of homeless workers that cultural sensitivity may not be enough.
Did you need help with that?
Well, I know I'll attempt it.
In his car, Angeles answers a phone call from one woman, Lori Buck. He helped. They stay in constant communication since Angeles helped her get a phone.
We're actually on our way right now.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll be there like in, I would say, 10 minutes, 10 to 15.
We arrive at a hotel in Loma Portal. Angeles helped Buck get into this hotel at the onset of the pandemic. She had been homeless for 8 years.
It's extremely frightening because you're supposed to be inside. And when you're outside, that's extremely difficult. I've never lived through a pandemic.
She found out about the pandemic through a friend. Now she lives in this hotel and she tries to follow the guidance: social distancing, wearing a mask, hand washing. But she says it's not that easy for everyone, especially people on the street.
Well, it all depends on how you approach them, because they're people too, and some you're going to be able to get through, and some that are mentally challenged, you might have a little bit of difficulty.
Contact tracing is critical to controlling the spread of coronavirus, and while working with at-risk communities has always been a challenge, the pandemic highlights the need to find long-term solutions. Shalina Chatlani.
Would you like a bag of food?
KPBS News.
A congressional committee is taking action following a recent iNewsSource investigation about the San Diego VA. iNewsSource investigative reporter Brad Racino has the story.
The San Diego VA recently began taking veterans away from a private clinic that has treated them with ketamine, a drug vets say has helped stop their suicidal thoughts. The VA instead is bringing the veterans back in-house to use a controversial nasal spray hyped by President Trump as, quote, incredible in combating suicidal thoughts.
And you take it and its results are incredible.
But an iNewsSource investigation and an outcry from vets who don't want their treatment stopped has prompted the House Committee on Veterans Affairs to start asking questions about the San Diego VA's actions. A committee spokesman told iNewsSource congressional staffers are seeking more information from the VA and will be briefed to determine whether what's happening in San Diego is isolated or if the halt in ketamine treatments for suicidal veterans is taking place across the country. El Cajon veteran A.J. Williams, who was featured in iNewsSource's investigation, was interviewed Monday by a staff member with the House panel. Here's what she said afterward.
I'm hoping that we as veterans get our freedom of choice back when it comes to seeing providers outside the VA network.
Even so, Williams is skeptical anything will change. Top administrators at the San Diego VA had been warned repeatedly that stopping ketamine treatments could prove catastrophic. They ignored those warnings, even after a Navy and Marine pilot took her life when she learned the VA was going to stop paying for her treatments. For KPBS, I'm iNewsSource investigative reporter Brad Racino.
iNewsSource is an independently funded, nonprofit partner of KPBS. President Trump has signed an order to extend the use of the National Guard through August to respond to the pandemic. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh says it's only a part of a long argument over how to pay troops when they respond.
For the past month, Specialist Ricardo Benitez has been staying at a hotel outside LA while his Guard unit works at a food bank in Los Angeles.
I wake up at 5, I prep myself, I prep breakfast at the hotel. It includes maybe a hot coffee with some hot oatmeal, basically, and then we just drive out over here. We meet up at 7:30.
Then pack meals which are sent to drop-off sites around LA County. Then head back to his hotel. Benitez doesn't even get to see the people he's helping. Instead, during downtime at his hotel, he follows some of the local nonprofits on social media.
I do see how basically the cars line up, break of dawn to basically get some meals in their trunks. So that gives me a little bit of a peace of mind where my work is going to.
The response to the coronavirus is among the largest domestic call-ups of the National Guard. Roughly 41,000 troops were mobilized in March. In LA County, the Guard was dispatched to nursing homes when the staff became ill with the virus. In several states, Guard troops are administering tests. They're deployed in nearly every state and U.S. territory.
And with everybody locked down, people are afraid to go do that work, but the National Guard is there to step in.
That's Frank Yoakum, who leads the trade organization for people enlisted in the National Guard.
And we will do whatever mission that you give us to do.
The question is how to pay for them. Advocates in and out of Congress cried foul when the Trump administration called up the Guard for 89 days for the COVID response, 1 day short of the 90 days needed to qualify for early retirement and GI Bill benefits. It was the second time during this deployment that the order stopped 1 day short of the Guard qualifying for more benefits. Something similar happened last year when the Guard was called up along the border. Yoakum says the federal government should give the Guard the same benefits as active duty troops within days of when they're called up.
It would put everybody under one status immediately. You wouldn't have to go beg DOD for permission. If the president signs an executive order that says there's a national disaster.
And then everyone would get the same benefits. The immediate problem was corrected by the president's recent decision to extend the pandemic deployment into August. California Congressman Mike Levin has held hearings on the pay inequity issues between Guard and active duty troops.
I'm very happy that the administration corrected what I thought was just a terrible decision that seemed designed to deprive benefits from service members.
Levin says Guard service has changed.
Now, day in, day out, they're doing a lot of the same things. They're taking similar risks. And as a result, I have believed, will continue to believe that they ought to be getting the same pay and the same benefits as well.
Congress is looking at whether Guard troops should receive hazard pay for their work in the pandemic. But a long-term fix for the pay and benefit issues has been elusive, even though more Guard troops than ever are being called up domestically. For KPBS News, I'm Steve Walsh.
Target is raising its minimum wage from $13 to $15 an hour. The change will take effect on July 5th. The new rate applies to part-time and full-time workers. Target's frontline store and distribution center workers also got a one-time bonus of $200 for their efforts throughout the coronavirus pandemic.
Woodruff tonight on the NewsHour as the U.S. Senate weighs police reform. I speak with Republican Senator Tim Scott about his plan forward. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Now for an update on today's top stories. Today, San Diego County reported 4 more people have died from the coronavirus and 120 new cases. 2 additional COVID-19 testing sites are opening in Mira Mesa and Spring Valley. Tests are free and you can make an appointment online. The county is launching a new COVID-19 recovery task force. The work will be focused on addressing some of the racial inequities brought to light by the pandemic. Data shows 2/3 of local cases involve the Hispanic community. And new research to be published in the journal Science shows COVID-19 is being spread by talking more than previously thought. The virus spreads by tiny airborne droplets. The county is reminding everyone to wear a face covering, especially as more businesses reopen. A baby hippo is making his public debut just in time for the San Diego Zoo's reopening weekend. A Kobe is a 2-month-old pygmy hippopotamus. He and his mother, Mabel, have been moved to their main habitat in the Lost Forest area of the zoo. A Kobe, the first pygmy hippo born at the zoo in more than 30 years. Wow, the San Diego Zoo and Safari Park reopen on Saturday. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.